Hello and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be tier ranking the Yellow Rangers of Super Sentai from Jetman to King-Ohger. And yellow was always my favorite color of Power Ranger growing up, so Yellow Rangers always have a close place in my heart. But in my opinion, the Yellow Rangers in Super Sentai are mostly a middling group. That's not to say there aren't good ones, but they're mostly mediocre overall, and I won't have a ton to say about them compared to my other tier rankings I've done so far. And at the end I'll also talk about Yumeria from Akibaranger. So without further ado, this is my tier ranking of the Yellow Rangers from Jetman to King-Ohger. First is Raita, Yellow Owl from Chojin Sentai Jetman, and he's alright. Like Akko, he isn't really a player in the main romance between Kyoryuger and Ryu, but he at least has some connection with Kaori where he knows he can't get with her, but he'll protect her anyway, so that's pretty wholesome. And he does have his own subplot about having a girlfriend or something, so he at least has that. He's likable enough. He can be kind of annoying, but he is a pretty wholesome guy. He's likable, and he at least has more to do than Akko. He's just alright overall, so he's going in C tier. Next is Boy, Tiger Ranger from Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. Like the other Zyurangers, he's mostly just a nothing character. His backstory is never explained. His only character trait is that he likes to eat, and that only shows up in like one episode, and then he's also a ninja in like one episode. So he's just a nothing character like the other Zyurangers. He's like one of the more likable Zyurangers, but that's still not saying much, so he's going in D tier. Next is Kazu, Kyoryuger Ranger of Goseiger Sentai Ranger. He's a pretty cool guy. He just gets no focus at all. Definitely the Ranger with the least focus. And even when it comes to his main connection of the season, it's with a random side character that has no connection to him, so that just sucks. But as a character, he's still pretty cool, and he has a couple of really cool focus episodes like getting drunk on tofu, or where he gets a clone made of him. Those are pretty funny episodes, so he's overall a pretty good character. He just doesn't get much to work with, so he's going in B tier. Next is Seikai, Ninja Yellow of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger, and he's definitely overshadowed in the comic relief area by Saizo, and for the most part he just feels like the other comic relief character, but he's not as annoying as Saizo. And I will say episode 7 is the funniest episode in all of Sentai, and that's a Seikai focused episode. He's not that unique as far as the Kakurangers go, because he's just the other comic relief character, but he's still pretty funny, so he's going in C tier. Next is Juri, Yellow of Chorgi Sentai Yellow, and I don't really have much to say about her. She doesn't really have much going for her, but as far as the Yellow Rangers are concerned, she's definitely the best. She has the best focus episodes. Her personality isn't annoying. Her focus episodes definitely carry her a lot, and other than that, she's kind of just a generic good guy character like the rest of the Yellow Rangers. She's definitely the best of the Yellow Rangers, so to me, she's B tier. Next is Natsumi, Yellow Racer of Gekiso Sentai Car Ranger, and she's like the other Car Rangers. She's not that good of a character, but she's a very funny character, and that's really all that needs to be done for a season as goofy as Car Ranger. That's really all I have to say about her. She has a couple of funny episodes, and she's just funny, and that's good enough. So she's C tier. Next is Chisato, Mega Yellow of Denji Sentai Mega Ranger, and she's a pretty good character, especially when compared to the other Mega Rangers, where she's mostly a normal student and is good at school and stuff, whereas like Kenta and Miku are bad students, and Shun is kind of a loner, and then Mega Black is just like a crazy tryhard. So she's like the only normal one, and that's good. She has a couple of pretty good focus episodes, and she's not annoying like Miku, so she's B tier. Next is Hikaru, Ginga Yellow of Seiju Sentai Gingaman, and he's pretty bad, mostly because he and Saya are pretty much the same character, where they're the youngest on the team, and that's pretty much their entire personality, and then there's two of them, so that just sucks. And I don't really remember much of his focus episodes. He just is an unremarkable character all around, so he's going in D tier. Next is Daimon, Go Yellow of QQ Sentai GoGoFive, and he's definitely the weakest member of GoGoFive, and he's incredibly annoying, but he makes up for it for all of his focus episodes being awesome, and pretty much all the best episodes of the season are his focus episodes. So even though his personality is pretty annoying, I have to give him credit that every single time it focuses on him, it's always a good time. So he's C tier. Next is Domon, Time Yellow of Mirai Sentai Timeranger, and I really like him. He's mostly a generic yellow meathead character, but I just really like his personality. He was a grappler from the future, and even though he's kind of stupid, he still shows that deep down he cares for the people he loves, like with his team, and his relationship with the photographer is also pretty wholesome. And he also has a bunch of really funny focus episodes, like when he has to get surgery or when he opens up the soba shop. I just really like him, so he's going in A tier. Next is Gaku, Gao Yellow from Hyakuju Sentai Gao Ranger, and he's alright. He's definitely the best of the core Gao Rangers, but that's still not saying that much. I do like that he was originally the leader, but it's kind of weird how there's never really any conflict between him and Kakeru over who should be leader, and that's just a missed opportunity. Aside from that, he's pretty boring, but as the season progresses, his actual personality shows up and he's kind of goofy, but it doesn't show up too much. Overall, he's still fine enough, especially considering the other Gao Rangers, but he's not great, so he's going in C tier. Next is Kota, Hurricane Yellow of Nimpu Sentai Hurricaneger, and like the other two core members of Hurricaneger. They're pretty similar. He's likable, he's not perfect, and I think he has the most fleshed out non-ninja backstory as he helps out his sister. He's just likable, and that's pretty much it, so he's B tier. Next is Ranru, Abare Yellow of Bakuryu Sentai Akibaranger, and she's a really good character. She's probably my favorite of the core 3 Abarangers, and it's just because she doesn't really fit any stereotypes. She's a tech savant, but she's also an athlete, and she's also pretty likable, and that's pretty much it, but I like her a lot, so she's going in A tier. Next is Jasmine, Deki Yellow of Tokuso Sentai Deca Ranger, and she's one of my favorite Yellow Rangers, just that she isn't annoying like Umeko, and she is unique in that she has ESP, whereas none of the other characters really have any powers, so that's cool. But also she has a lot of really interesting focus episodes, so she's just an incredible Yellow Ranger. She was my favorite for a while, so she's going in S tier. Next is Tsubasa, MagiYellow of Maho Sentai MagiRanger. He's alright, but he's definitely the MagiRanger that gets the least focus. Pretty much nothing else is known about him except for his passion for boxing, and that isn't even really brought up that much. And really the only episode I can really remember where he's a pretty good focus is the Vampire two-parter. It's just a shame because I really like his personality and I think he's pretty cool, but he just doesn't do enough, so he's C tier. Next is Natsuki, Boken Yellow of Gogo Sentai Bokenger. She is really annoying, one of the most annoying characters in all of Sentai, and she would probably be my least favorite Yellow Ranger if not for a pretty interesting backstory, definitely the most interesting backstory out of all the Bokengers, but like the other Bokengers, it's really only a player in like 1 or 2 episodes. She does have a pretty good relationship with Boken Black, but I think that just says more about Boken Black than it says about her, because she's just so unbelievably annoying, but she at least has an interesting backstory, but she's still D tier. Next is Ron, Geki Yellow of Jugen Sentai Geki Ranger, and she's just really boring. She's not terrible, she's not annoying, but she's just so boring, like the other Geki Rangers, really unmemorable. She has a couple of focus episodes that I can remember, but not really anything. I don't really remember anything about her personality. She's just so boring, but she's at least not annoying, so she's C tier. Next is Saki, Go-On Yellow of Engine Sentai Goanger. She honestly feels more like a Pink Ranger than a Yellow Ranger, but she's still fine. She's a little bit annoying, but it isn't too bad. She's pretty likable, and honestly her personality fits a season like Go-Langer, so it's not that big of a deal. She has a couple of pretty memorable focus episodes, especially the one with her sister. That's the best one I can remember. So overall she's alright, but nothing great, so she's C tier. Next is Kotoha Shinken Yellow of Samurai Sentai Shinkenger, and she's definitely the least interesting Shinkenger. Her backstory is pretty interesting as she wasn't meant to be Shinken Yellow, but it's not brought up too much. And overall her personality is just kind of boring. She does have a couple of good focus episodes, like the one with the insult Gadoshu, and the episode where Takeru pretends to be her butler. But other than that, she's just very forgettable, and it's just really boring. But she's likable enough, so she's C tier. Next is Monet, Gosei Yellow of Tenso Sentai Goseiger. She's just a really bad character. None of the Goseigers besides Alata and Hyde get really any opportunity to do anything of note. And even Eri and Agri get like moments and episodes where they get to do something cool. But I feel like Monet does literally nothing. She's just pretty annoying and doesn't really do anything of note, and I honestly can't really remember anything she does, so she's D tier. Next is Luca, Gokai Yellow from Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger, and she's another one of the best yellows. But like the other Gokaigers, she has a really interesting backstory and gives a pretty good reason on why she's greedy and really likes to steal things, because she grew up in poverty with nothing, and she has really good interactions with the team and always has funny things to say to the Zangyak. So she's just a great character, and she's S tier. Next is Yoko, Yellow Buster of Tokime Sentai Go Busters, and she's definitely the weakest link in the Go Busters overall. She's pretty annoying and whiny all the time, but she does have some pretty good moments. It also doesn't help that her buddy Royd is also really annoying, and I just hate their interactions. It's always so annoying. It also doesn't help that her weakness is really lame and just is the same joke all over the place, and it's not even that funny. Unlike Hiromu, where his weakness is also comic relief, but it's funny. Yoko's just isn't that funny. She still has some good moments, but overall she's just a little too annoying, so she's C tier. Next is Mio, Tokyu Sango of Resha Sentai Tokuger. She's like Tokachi for me. I don't really know why I like her, but I really like her. And she's just not annoying, unlike Hagura, so there's that. And also she has a pretty wholesome relationship with Tokachi, and she has a lot of really good focus episodes. So I just overall really like her. So she's A tier. Next is Nagi, Kyoryuger of Shuriken Sentai Ninja, and he's probably one of the most boring and nothing characters in all of Sentai. He feels like a Zyuranger character, and especially in a season like Ninja where the characters aren't good, but they're at least entertaining somewhat. Nagi just has absolutely nothing. I don't even know anything about him, and he's just completely forgettable. He's probably even worse than a Zyuranger character. Yeah, he's D tier. Next is Leo, Jewel Lion of Dobot Sentai Zyuohger. He's a pretty generic yellow meathead like Domon, but he doesn't really have any of the stuff that makes Domon good. He's just kind of generic. And like the other Jew-men, his backstory is just never explained. We don't really know much about his life in Jewland. So he's just kind of generic at one note. He has a couple of pretty good episodes, but overall he's just pretty forgettable. So he's C tier. Next is Spada, Kajiki Yellow of Uchu Sentai Kyoryuger, and like most of the Kyorangers, he doesn't get much focus, but I like him. I wish he had more focus. He has a pretty one-note character as just a guy who wants to be a chef, but he's charismatic and funny, and I just like him, and I wish he had more to do, but he just doesn't do enough like most of the other Kyorangers, so he's C tier. Next is Umika, Lupin Yellow of Kaito Sentai Lupin Ranger. The core Lupin Rangers besides Kairi are pretty boring, and Umika is pretty boring. She's cute, but that's pretty much all there is to say about her. She has a couple of pretty good focus episodes and kind of wholesome relationship with Zakia. Not really, he's mostly a creep to her, but she has some funny moments and she's good enough, so she's C tier. Next is Tometomo Yellow of Mashin Sentai Kyoryuger, and I really like him. He's a gamer, which is funny, and I do like that at the beginning he clashes with Juru over whether he gets to be leader or not, but that just doesn't last long enough. And that's mostly the problem I have with most of the Kyoryugers besides Juru, where they kind of just accept him as a leader even though they're obviously more qualified and it would make a lot more sense. And Tometomo is the only one who actually tries to do that, but it really is only a filler episode basically, so never ends up mattering. But he's still pretty good, he's funny, he has some good moments, so he's B tier. Next is Gawan, Zenkai Gawan from Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger, and he's the worst Yellow Ranger, easily, even worse than Nagi. He's just so annoying, and it also doesn't help that he's kind of hard to sympathize with because he's just a robot, and he's just kind of an asshole, and it's just super annoying. All he wants to do is like humans and hate other Kikanoids, and I just really don't like that, and nothing is done with his character. He has like no backstory. So when I don't like his personality, and that's pretty much all I can go off of, it just sucks. So he's D tier. Next is Haruka, Oni sister of Avataro Sentai Dawn Brothers, and she's my favorite Yellow Ranger, and she's just so funny, especially in season like Dawn Brothers. She has the best reactions to all the weird things, and it works especially because she's like the only normal member of the team. She's a great point of view character, especially early on when she is the protagonist for the first couple of episodes, and she's just hilarious. She has a lot of funny moments, and also at the end of the season has a lot of really funny episodes, like the episode where she learns to drive, and when it turns out that the person who ruined her manga career is just herself from the future. So that's really funny. And like I said, she just has a lot of really funny reactions and has a really wholesome relationship with Taro. When Taro came back for the first time, that's just a great moment in the season, and I just really like her. She's easily my favorite Yellow Ranger. She's S tier. Next is Himeno Kyoryuger of Osama Sentai King-Ohger, and I really like her. At first I didn't like her too much, I just thought she was a generic princess stereotype, but over time I've come to like her a lot more, especially in the second chapter when we get more insight on the fury of the gods and that stuff. And she also has a really good relationship with Sebastian, her retainer. So overall, she's a really good character. In comparison to the King-Ohgers, she's probably on the weaker side, but the King-Ohgers are a really strong team. So she's A tier. Now I'm going to talk about Yumeria AkibaYellow from Hikoden Sentai Akibaranger. She's all like Saizo from Gokaiger in that she can be really funny, but she can also be really annoying. And in the first season, she's definitely my least favorite Akibaranger, although she has some of the funniest moments. And then in season 2, she's definitely not as annoying, especially because Luna is really bad and she replaced Mitsuki as Akiba Blue. So she's a better character in season 2, but I don't think she's as funny. I think she rehashes a lot of the same jokes in season 2, but she's overall pretty funny and I like her well enough. So here's my final tier list for the Yellow Rangers from Jetman to King-Ohger. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I hope I didn't come off as too much of a hater by putting so many near the C and D tier, but to me the Yellow Rangers just aren't as good overall as the other colors, but they're still pretty good. So I'm glad I could get this video out earlier than I expected. I have a 3-day weekend, so I just had some extra time. My next video shouldn't come out until the end of the month, around the first week of November. That's when I should be able to make the Pink Ranger tier list, and then after that I'll play it by ear from there. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Feedback is always appreciated. Have a great day.